Hey, this is Sabrina, Monarch of Monarch Astrology and Magic of the Spheres podcast. In this video, I'm bringing you a transmission about the current transit of Venus in Cancer square the lunar nodes. We have the South Node in Libra and the North Node in Aries. And this week, June 25th, June 26th, depending on your time zone, we're going to have Venus in Cancer neatly square both lunar nodes. And this is a moment where, the planets square the nodes are something that I really focus on in my practice, especially in natal charts and also for like longer acting, slower moving transits. But I did want to tune into this current moment because planets square the nodes are always a karmic crossroads. It means that the planet that is squaring the nodes is seeking greater integration. If it's a natal chart, it's integration into that individual's identity and personality structure. And in a transit, it's like the current moment, there's some kind of karmic integration that is being sought. And so when you have a planet square the nodes, the function of that planet is either, maybe kind of far away and you're trying to bring it in and have it be integrated, or you're having some crisis of extremes between the lunar nodes. So I just want to dive into what Venus in Cancer square the nodes means. And we're going to explore this in more detail throughout this. So first off, there's a wish for close connection. Venus in Cancer desires intimacy that is familiar and cozy, comfortable. It's people and community that you feel like you can really kind of unwind, be yourself with, people that feel like family to us. So wanting that kind of tight knit, like cozy, good feeling intimacy. There's also themes around defensiveness of the heart. Places that we've internally shut down or gotten really hard, like the Cancer is represented by a crab. So there's this hard shell and a soft, gooey inside. And so when you see a Cancerian or you have that Cancer element of yourself where you're a little bit jaded and crabby and crusty and whatnot, it's a protection mechanism of something soft internally. And we want to get right with how we are protecting ourselves. Because sometimes with Cancer, the form of protection that we give ourselves actually just blocks us off from life. It blocks us off from feeling connected to ourselves, to others, to God, to life itself, because we've really just put up walls and nothing can get in or out. As opposed to, what real protection is, proper boundaries, standards that allow us to be in connection to that soft, gooey part of us. So these closures that we go through with Venus and Cancer, these heart closures, they may not be helpful. They could have unintentional damage, just like grumpiness, jadedness, numbness, disconnection from the heart more than one would hope. So, with Venus and Cancer season, we're craving the good. We want that kind of romantic, idyllic, beautiful part of life, that sense of life feeling fertile and abundant and just like you just want to like be up in it and snuggle with it and you're in love with everything, right? And if you feel like really grossed out by that or just like not connected to that sense of intimacy, that might be playing out at the moment too. And then close connections at this moment, whether it's it could be the desire for them, the desire for more closeness that's shaping a personal development moment for us, a spiritual development moment. But it could also be that you already have it, because I know I'm speaking to an audience with a broad, variety of life experiences, and you may really be like really have this going on for you. You may have cultivated, really high quality relationships in your life. So these close connections that we have or that we're building or that we're really experiencing the fruit of right now, they are taking a large role in shaping our current identity, our goals, and our aspirations. So where there's positive or secure connection, right? Just as like in a developmental storyline, the positive and secure parts of childhood enable us to thrive and to, develop our skills and talents and have meaningful developmental experiences and to thrive as a human being. Our positive and secure connections and relationships can really start to open up space for an emerging storyline. So This is things like, partners deciding to have a kid, deciding to have a baby, right? Or being at like a really stable place in what you've cultivated in your business and wanting to expand in some way. Um, or having really nourished yourself, like nourished your body and self-esteem, and you're ready to open your heart to another person. So just recognizing that when nourishment and secure attachment and kind of this good part of Cancer is taken care of, that it actually fosters and grows life. Um, and I wanted to make a point about this too, that if we're hungering for more intimacy and close connection, it can point us to a question at this time about who are we becoming to be a vibrational match to that. And it's not about being good enough to be loved or like being worthy enough or something like that, though we do have to work on self-worth with Venus, truly. It's not about being good and earning the thing. It's more about being in vibrational integrity with our values. So if you really want to be around people that are like go-getters and that have ambition and that are like, taking charge of their lives, are you a person that is that way? Are you a match for that? And it's not that we can't match with people that have different personality traits or qualities than us, but if it's something that's really important to you, right? Another example could be honesty. If you want to be around people that are really honest, but you aren't honest yourself, it's like there's some vibrational disintegrity in that. So we also have to kind of look at this time, and I'm going to be getting more into this, is that Cancer can have like a little bit of a dependent quality, right? It's wanting to be around life circumstances, people that maybe do it for us, and we just get to relax into what is being provided for us. But the current dynamic, which I'm going to explain more about, is actually really, there's some activation point with the North Node in Aries in terms of activating that quality in ourselves, and taking initiative to move toward what we desire. So before I unpack that way more, I just want to share a few announcements. First is that the Evolutionary Astrology Intensive that I've been teaching for years, I'm going to be running it for the 15th time, again in September of this year, 2024. So you can find the link in the notes where I talk about this course. It's a comprehensive course to learn the language of evolutionary astrology, which is my decade plus specialty, grounding, rooting in astrology. It's a Pluto soul-centered form of astrology that has given me more than I can really tell you. It's been such a key part of my own personal and spiritual development, and I think it's a really beautiful practice and way to be with astrology. My books for astrology readings are open for July. I put up a lot of spaces, and I am accommodating multiple time zones. You can find the link in the notes. These are evolutionary fusion readings, which are rooted in my specialty of evolutionary astrology, which resources Pluto and the lunar nodes to get an understanding of your soul, a real portrait of where your soul is coming from. What are the tendencies, things that you've brought in from prior lives that you're still working out and resolving within the invitations and initiations of this lifetime. So looking at, on the one hand, there's our personality, there's like our life circumstances. EA is a way to go deeper of like, why? What is this? What is this an alchemical training ground for? So I do that in these evolutionary fusion readings, but I also incorporate my several year recent studies of Hellenistic astrology. I incorporate minor asteroids, ones that are prominent in your chart. And I also do, I'm pretty multimodal, multidisciplinary. So upon your interest, I do also incorporate other things into this session, like Akashic Records channeling, EFT tapping, which is a somatic trauma healing technique, or personalized visualization, which I love doing. And these are things that can support with moving energetic blockages, right? Because we're talking about deep soul level material. And I can give you some, strategies or things to maybe look out for, like pay attention to in your life. And also in the moment of the session, maybe we can move a little bit of energy if that's desired. So you can book that reading again through the notes. New clients welcome. And if you're a returning client, we can focus on a particular theme that's up for you, or look at the year ahead. Either way, there's an intake form that you can fill out before the reading to clarify the session. Another announcement, I'm going to be running a Kickstarter. I'm about to launch it, and this is a Kickstarter to ask for your support for a year ahead of forecasts like this, as well as Magic of the Spheres podcast episodes. I ran 2 of these campaigns in 2020 and 2021. They were pretty successful. And then I took a few years off from campaigning for your support. But it felt like time to ask for that again, that if you really benefit from my free content, which I like to offer for free, because this is how you find me, this is how we connect. But it's still, I give a lot in terms of the free content. I don't really hold back in terms of these forecasts and just like sharing and providing high quality astrology content. So if it's impacted your life in a positive way, I'm asking for your support and offering a lot of cool things in return that you can pledge for, like astrology readings, like discounted tuition to my evolutionary astrology intensive. And I'm also offering a new course about glamour magic, specifically about physical beauty that comes from years of experience for me. So speaking of Venus square the nodes, by the way, which I have natally also, I transmuted a lot of pain and anguish, like deep pain and anguish about my appearance. Um, and as almost solitary as that journey was, it wasn't. I had friends and guides inside of it, but the level of pain I felt was like, do other people feel this way? And it's like, of course they do. Of course they do, honey. This is the way that things are set up in this reality. The kind of beauty industrial complex, the cultural beauty standards, and the poison, the kind of bad magic of that. And I came to discover that, as I've gotten to this place where I feel relative joy and ease about my appearance, I like how I look in the mirror. I'm not so bothered by my flaws, which I definitely have. Um, that I feel a kind of sovereignty and freedom inside of just enjoying my beauty, inside of enjoying the power that I have to infuse my physical look with my intention, with my prayer. So I decided it was time to teach glamour magic. I've already been talking about it on social media and feeling your excitement and enthusiasm about it. So that's going to be one of the things I'm offering through the Kickstarter that I'm really excited about. So the Kickstarter isn't out yet. It's going to be out super soon. So just stay connected to this channel, subscribe, sign up for my mailing list to know when this is available. And it's going to be really soon. And then last thing, announcement before we get into Venus and Cancer square the nodes, is that I'm doing another visualization event later this week on Friday, June 28th, called Opening to Peak Sun, Idyllic, Innocent, Romantic, in Love with Life. And this is a Cancer season inspired visualization. It is a solar inspired visualization, and it's about opening to that good that Cancer represents, that kind of summer romance energy, that sense of feeling like life is juicy and ripe and you are like seated in the full openness of your heart. And this meditation is about touching that romantic side of ourselves, which I believe can be quite vulnerable. Like, as I've been talking about with Cancer, it's a defensive sign, right? So we build this shell to protect this part of ourselves. And the visualization is inspired by doing some kind of energy work, healing, blessing ourselves to connect with this internal solar essence that's connected to the good, the romantic, the beautiful in life, and maybe retrieve some energy from the past, where we have past hurts or past peak experiences that are holding us back from being present. So this will be live and recorded. I love doing these visualizations. They can be very alchemical and like move energy. And that's what I love about them. Visualization has always been a really important part of my toolkit for alchemy, for prayer, for changing my life. So the link for that is in the notes as well. And I'm going to get back into this forecast. So the Libra Aries axis, which is currently where we have the lunar nodes, This is telling a story about how we are habitually harmonizing with other people. So the Libra South node, right? The personality and karmic kind of dynamic and traits that we have around um, getting along with other people, like being conscious of other people's needs and desires and balancing and cooperating with that, which of course can be really beautiful and inclusive and kind and all of those things. But when it's at the South node, there's something also maybe in terms of what happens when we're being harmonic with people that don't have our best interests at heart, right? Like we're trying to make friends with um, people that maybe we need to have more boundaries with, or we're trying to harmonize with people that we're actually not on the same team, right? And so it's nice to want to love everyone, but there's a line, right? There's boundaries. And that brings us to Aries North Node, which is about developing our individuality and autonomy. It's where we're being invited to forge new pathways, to take a stand, to individuate, and to also lean into our own impulses, even though we might not be sure of how it's going to go over, right? It's very like, having this internal instinct and you don't know if it's going to look cool or people are going to like it, but it's true for you. And there's something about Aries of having that courage to, take a leap, find out, take a risk. And the integration of this axis, this lunar node experience at the moment, is a lot about bringing our individuality and sovereignty into connection. So to relate to others as a whole individual ourselves, as opposed to patterns we have of shaping ourselves to please the other in ways that's inauthentic or ways that we have not included ourselves in the equation in a meaningful way, right? Where we're not paying attention to the emergent instincts that are sparking our life force with Aries. And then planets square the nodes. So I can just show you a quick visual of what I'm talking about. Venus at 11 degrees Cancer will be squaring the lunar nodes in Libra and Aries. So when we have planets square the nodes, there's something that's called an integration node, and that's the node the planet last made a conjunction with. In this case, it's the North Node in Aries that's offering a special key for the current Venus and Cancer storyline. So some of what this means, let me translate. Often there's an aspect of the desire to belong, right? This Venus in Cancer wanting to be part of a family, where we think we can just find it, like the romantic other, the community, etc., as this fully formed entity that we can just join in on, like a lot like a baby duck searching to imprint on its mother. It's kind of a romantic or idealistic notion that what we seek is just out there for us to go find. But there are some trappings in this line of thought. Like, is it even philosophically the case that we just find something outside of us, other than us, and find resonance or belonging? Or is it that we vibrationally match with things, right? So when you, there's a difference here between waiting or looking for something on the outside versus something that we're actually meant to be taking part in creating. Right. So again, that thing of like the example I used of you want to meet people that are go-getters, that are ambitious, right? But you're like laying at home, not doing anything, procrastinating, avoiding, right? Are you doing anything that's actually putting you in the position to, one, meet these ambitious people, and two, to even relate to them? Right. So thinking about the kind of time and energy you've put in to go through the initiations, that would make you a match for the thing that you would seek. And so even though theoretically you might go out into the world and explore and find someone that feels like family or a community that feels like family to you, you were forming yourself before you met the match. Right. So it's just getting right with that idea of like, we have to effort, we have to apply ourselves to find this kind of familial feeling. The North Node in Aries here symbolizes that the active will directed toward a mission, okay, so that we have this active will directed toward a mission, or less lucidly of the bigger picture, like we don't necessarily know the big mission that we're going for. There's maybe an active will at the moment directed toward what instinctually guides and excites us, what ignites our fire and vitality for life. And the actions that we take here, whether or not we have a big idea of the big picture or we're just kind of following breadcrumbs, these things will have a way of positioning us as distinct social beings that others can recognize, feel, and sense, right? So if we take social media or something for an example, if you are just watching people post, if you're not interacting with anyone's posts, you're not putting yourself out there. But if you're making posts and other people can see you and sense you, or you're responding and commenting or like making connections with people, you are actively putting yourself in the social atmosphere and letting yourself be an individual that can be seen and felt. So that's what I'm talking about, of just that energy of, are you getting out there, Aries? Are you putting yourself in the mix? Um, which is kind of contradictory to Cancer energy, right? Cancer likes to stay home, like Cancer wants to feel safe. It can be the part of us that wants to feel like we have permission, like whatever it is we need to feel secure and safe, that's already granted to us. And then because we have that, we feel this courage to put ourselves out there. And this might invert it a little bit where it's like, can you find that thing internally where you have the courage to talk to someone that you find interesting, or you have the courage to share an idea and put it out there, even though you're not sure how it's going to land, but doing these things that actually take initiative that create connection points for you. I'm thinking of this dynamic myself at the moment in that I moved to Greece. I don't know a lot of people. I'm here in Crete now. And there's like a Facebook group where I could introduce myself, and I did. So I started to, engage this process of networking. And I'm thinking about, is there like an organization here or something that already exists that I want to join? Like, that's not even really where my creativity is going. I'm thinking about the apartment that I just, that I'm scheduled to rent, the events that I might throw myself, the astrology events, the circles, the things that I might create and invite people to and create the community that I desire. Um, because I'm throwing into the social arena like that which inspires and interests me. That's a perfect way for me to feel belonging in the world, right? As opposed to hoping, wishing that the thing that I really want is out there and someone else is going to make it for me, which I have had that kind of mental pattern too. And when I do my own thing, Aries, it really breaks me out of that. And I realize that that's a great way to create community, is to literally create it yourself. And this isn't to say that I don't gladly experience communities that other people create, or gladly meet friends of friends and benefit from other people's labors and efforts in this way. But that I've just learned that if you put yourself out there, Aries, like you will often feel a sense of belonging that is so uniquely you. Right? It is vulnerable. It does take courage, because there is the possibility of rejection, or the possibility that no one will answer the call. And I think that that then inspires Cancer to shut down a little bit and be like, well, no one likes it when I take initiative, or no one answered uh, my party invitation. No one came, so I'm just not going to try again. And we have to like really kind of work out that tension between Aries and Cancer of learning to challenge our comfort zone meaningfully, so that we don't get stuck in a closed, small world. And there's this age-old concept, right, that you find in stories, that you find in the hero's journey, where the hero is looking for something on a quest. They're looking to meet someone, they're looking to develop something that they feel like they don't have, right? And Libra, just to take a moment here, is a sign that's imbued with a deep gift of relational sensitivity and attunement. It's our ability to consider and understand others, and to be relationally intelligent in ways that create beautiful experiences with others. And these are experiences, this kind of relational intelligence, that if we were just selfish and self-absorbed, we wouldn't have that same access to really co-creating and collaborating. But Libra is a mirror, and we can't expect the mirror to do all the work, to deeply reflect what we have not connected to or developed in ourselves. And the mirror will be so generous at times to connect us, to bring people on our path that have a quality that is very nascent or latent inside of us. That we did, get to be sparked by someone, get to be sparked by the external mirror reflection. But we just can't over depend on the mirror. The mirror still has to reflect who we are. So back to the hero's journey, right? The hero has this nascent quality, this thing that is not, we're not owning it yet. We think it's out there in other people. We think it's at the end of our great quest, right? And the reality is that as you go through this journey of becoming, the hero realizes that they really were the thing, or they had the thing they were seeking all along. It just had to be shaped and cultivated within. And of course, they needed those outer experiences. They needed those mirrors of people and experiences to touch and contact that internal thing. So why I say that is that the invitation of this current moment is to really pivot, to consider where we're holding back and waiting. Kind of waiting for life to give us the opportunity, or to reflect the fruition that we're seeking. And to pivot toward actively claiming and creating, and really actually connecting with the internal flame, or that internal quality that is that which we seek. Right? Even if this means like you need to just take some introspection time to really reflect on what you desire and where you have some power and agency. In simple terms, why wait for the ideal social environment to present itself externally when you could create it? Why wait for something interesting to do when you could propose and create the interesting thing to do, the social gathering around what you find interesting? Why wait for someone else to magically appear into your life to inspire greater heights in your life when you could start kindling your own impulses to develop greatness? And again, all of these things that I'm talking about with Venus and Cancer square the nodes, there's such a desire to share this with people that we feel close and comfy and connected and just feel this kinship with. So it's very confronting in some of these storylines to feel alone, right? Or it could be that you have an existing social dynamic and relationship and you want more from it. You want to cultivate something fresh and new inside of it. It is a strong impulse within the current astrology to want to find these things externally or in other people. But we're going to be at like a little bit of a standstill, because there's this sense of codependency or externalization of something that is actually like a seed inside of ourselves that we're meant to breathe life into. So you can remember that a deep unconscious side of the sign of Cancer is about taking the shape of our container. This is how we're imprinted by our family, our early life experiences, by culture, even the people that are around us. And at this point in our stories with this current transit, there's some prompting to add some self-definition or internal direction to how we are being shaped. So this sentence came to me when I was thinking about this transit of, I take the shape of the path that I pave for myself. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the possibilities of Venus in Cancer is this crusty, jaded heart. Cancer is a very defensive sign built to protect soft, tender, gooey vulnerabilities, right? Or what is precious. And I find that Cancer can become that, jaded, crusty side of itself when there's been disappointment, and when there was an expectation that other people would not hurt us, that they would know the right ways to touch and to protect us, and that there's then this closure when there are failures in this regard. So I think that this is also a place where we could benefit from some of the Aries, like this bounce back resilience kind of energy to be willing to try again, right? A place of inner leadership here, this initiative to repair some damages in the ways that we personally are empowered to. And so I mean, like, doing what you need to do to repair your heart, not holding yourself captive, waiting for someone else to behave differently or to apologize or change, but to take your own heart into your own hands here. And what is it that you could do to repair the state of your heart that's not dependent on another person's actions? What grief, what reconciliation activities like do you need personally? Really sit with that one if that's something that's up for you. And then moving forward, more clarity on what true standards and boundaries would support us to be most open and available to love moving forward. So this is different than erecting walls to simply protect and, wall ourselves off from life and from threats. Um, when we're intentional about basically what are the rules of my kingdom, my queendom, what are my standards, what is necessary, what am I a no to, and having some actual kind of protocols for governance in that way, which is, kind of the Capricorn polarity to Cancer, because Cancer is very, what I find though out in the world is that when Cancerians are really adaptive and intelligent and like high octave about their archetype, they really know how to make life livable. They know how to make life like really fruitful and like this beautiful garden. And they can be severe, they can have boundaries, they can make tough calls, they can do hard things, but it's like so in service to the beautiful life that they're cultivating, to the things that they really value. So there may be ample desire to feel connected and intimate with Venus in Cancer right now, and there are important pathways to that through our own actions and initiatives, North Node in Aries. Once the fertility of this placement is activated, Venus in Cancer, things really grow. Stories naturally develop. Right? So that's what I was saying earlier about partners deciding to have a baby, or your business being stable and expanding, or securing like some type of personal stability and then being able to take a next step. There's something to really challenge here about the dynamic of waiting for these developments to come from the outside, to just change from life. When there's something in our power to actually change and nurture from within. And, willpower comes to mind here, because sometimes it's hard for people to access will. It's like you want to change your life, but you're feeling this kind of like seductive call to just kind of zone out and like watch TV or something, or do some other kind of addictive pattern. And so essentially, it's like taking the time to kind of have this counsel with yourself of what do you want? What steps do you need to take to get there? And then noticing when your resistance patterns come up throughout the day and deciding like, am I putting this dream off for tomorrow and then the next day and the next day? Or am I going to pattern interrupt my avoidance and procrastination now? And this doesn't have to be like putting yourself in boot camp or being like self-punishing or something like that. It can be nurturing. It can be more like you talking to your inner child of like, hey, I know you really don't feel like doing this right now. I know you're tired. I know you just want to kind of zone out. I know you just want to maybe go play or do nothing, but this is important. And I'm going to be with you here while we do this, right? Like kind of nurturing yourself into taking the initiative. But just know, like, there is definitely a tendency right now to think like, oh, this is kind of what I want, to fantasize about it, and then have no willpower to have, like, to actually execute it. And so that's something that we might need to reflect on, of like, what would nurture and motivate me to start to make these changes, or just to, even if you're capable of it, to snap out of the tendency to avoid or procrastinate on things that really matter. Like if you can see that lucidly and be like, never mind, and get focused if you have access to that. We may be reflecting at this time both what actions are being called forth from us to feed and nurture the enrichment that we're seeking, as well as to acknowledge what needs to be cut or let go of. The Cancerian can make holistic life decisions, and Venus in Cancer can definitely be about valuing what makes our experience most livable, fertile, fruitful, lush. And while the end result appears to be leisurely and soft and sensitive, right, all this like good life kind of stuff, there's a decisive hand behind it with clear desires, clear yeses and nos, standards, boundaries, and a willingness to enact real change from that place of internal clarity. So even though it looks soft, there was some some will and some power and some life force that went into it too. And if this feels like a challenge at the moment, it's probably because Venus is squaring the nodes. So this is kind of an unintegrated energy at the moment. We're having a checkpoint of like, this is the good, leisurely, soft, or like the fertile life that I want. This is how I want my life to develop. And what am I willing to do about it? Am I just waiting for it? Do I think it's just going to happen magically? And like getting kind of more serious about where we actually have to take some internal charge. This is not about forcing things, right? We're still in relationship with life and with the desire, but having to kind of recognize our own part in it. And this is a call to internalize the hero's journey and to reflect on how our heart's desires actually call us to become a person who can receive them. That this is something that desire does for us, is that it changes our lives. Desires don't necessarily, I mean, if you're really in your magnetism, you might have a desire and it instantly appears or something like that. But desires that are bigger than, greater than your current life experience, something that feels a little bit separate or beyond, it's actually reflecting to you a journey of self-becoming, where you'll go on this whole path and your life will change, inspired by that thing that you desire. And I think that there's just this unique tension with Venus in Cancer, because there's something so young and childlike, and actually like our deepest imprints of care, receiving care, or inadequately, like not receiving care. And so there's this sense within Venus in Cancer that we are wanting to be nurtured. And an interesting paradox of, yes, we do need to receive that nurturement and nourishment, but we also have to take responsibility for creating the pathways for that to be possible in our lives. So that is my message for you about this current transit. I forgot to say to like this video, super important, really helps the channel, and leave a comment. Let me know what resonated with you. Introduce yourself if you're new here. I love those introduction comments when you're new to my channel. It really makes my day. Also, just like hearing from you in general, I absolutely love. So please do share with me what landed for you and how you're doing, how you're experiencing these themes currently. A little bit more about the meditation or the visualization. So I felt like I just kind of went over it quickly. This, visualization as a modality, it's about basically like going into, like if you go into internal meditations where you try to like clear your mind or witness your mind, that's one type of meditation. Visualizations to me are kind of a more feminine, like you're like infusing yourself with an energy, or you're going on an experience or taking a kind of trip, and doing something to shift your internal landscape and energy. And the theme, as I was saying, is Cancer season inspired. It's summer solstice. That's why I called it Opening to Peak Sun. And it's inspired by, when I think about summer, one of the things that has been important for me for summer is like really nourishing and nurturing my desire to have a good time, to be in the romance, to be in love with life. And we are seasonal beings, despite also the earth being seasonal. And so not every time am I in, I could be physically in paradise, right? It could be summertime, but is my heart open to the summer? Am I willing to receive that peak experience in life? And I really consider myself a student of peak experiences. I've had a lot of them. I've also had a hard time letting go. I've done a lot around soul retrieval from peak experiences. And so the meditation is kind of just like a check-in at this point of opening to the peak sun moment, opening to summer, opening the heart to the romantic, the idyllic, and just being able to touch that vulnerable spot within ourselves and to do some kind of healing and energy moving around whatever might be in the way of that. So this event, it's only $33. And People often report like wonderful experiences doing visualization journeys with me. I get excited to offer them more because of how much you guys love them. And it's just something that I've naturally done since I was a kid and like love doing, and think can be really catalyzing and transformative and sweet. So I would love to share that with you. Of course, I would love for you to come live, but it also will be recorded. So follow the link in the notes for that. I would love to read your chart for you and sit down with you around the themes of your chart and what is emerging in your heart space and what you would like to consult the oracle of your chart about. So my books are also open for that. Um, a lot of stuff is happening right now. This is a very creative time and things are ramping up for me in terms of creating and offering. So of course, the Kickstarter, the Glamour Magic course, the EA intensive, there's lots of opportunities ahead to work with me and I would love to connect with you. So thank you so much for tuning in. Do leave a comment, and I'll see you again soon.